Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I am hanging out with Justin Heisman. I should have probably asked you how to pronounce your last name before we started. Of Ultimate Games Master. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, and that was good. That was fine. Justin Heisman, correct. So yeah, I'm good. Very hot. We're not used to this hot weather in England. We're used to the rain.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. Like the temperatures all over the place have been like all out of whack. I mean, like I never heard of a heat dome until this year, right? And now we're all living in Avernus, I think.
Oh, I think so.
So for people that aren't familiar with you and what you do, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and kind of giving the elevator pitch.
Yeah, of course. I'm Justin Heisman. I'm the lead developer of the Ultimate Games Master. It's a set of Games Master, player, spectator, and streaming tools that pulls everything under one roof, allows you to create your campaigns, link to players, play online, play offline. And if you are a streamer, you can stream it as well as with live data overlays on your stream. So it's got a bit of everything in there. So you don't have to ever leave the one application. So it's pretty cool.
So for folks that are interested in what we're going to be talking about today and following Justin around the interwebs, there will be links in the description. Go check them out. This is actually a product that's going to be upcoming on Kickstarter very soon. You can even click the link down there and go and push the button and get notified when it launches if you're interested. So what was the impetus for you to create this app, this piece of software?
Well, it all came about when I had all my books, I had my campaign notes, I had a device running sounds, I had stuff for my maps, and I just thought this is insane. I've got so much stuff going on here, and my DM screen was just full of stuff, and I was like, right, okay, I'm a developer anyway. And I went away and I thought I'm going to put all this into a nice little container that I can bring to my games on a device and just use it all from one place. Now, that was a good 3 years ago now. We took a very early alpha to the UK Games Expo, and people fell in love with it. They really liked what we saw, what we was showing them. So we then did some work on it over the next year and took it back to the UK Games Expo and showed them what we've been working on. Again, everyone loved what we did, and we were going to release it last year at the Games Expo again, but obviously COVID put a stop to all of that. So we thought, okay, well let's put a bit more time, and we spent a good another year creating what we've got today, which is pretty much a finished product now. And we are kickstarting that next Tuesday on July 27th. And yeah, it's just a tool that enables you to do everything I said earlier: the maps, the sounds, the campaign notes, linking your players into your game, streaming your games, or recording them out to OBS or whatever software you use, all from one tablet or one PC or Mac. Doesn't matter what platform you want to run it on. You can run it on, let's say you can run it on PC, Mac, Android, iOS. If there's a device out there that you're not, you use that we might not have, give us a shout and we'll make it work for that as well. Chrome OS is another one. So it brings it all together and enables you to play connected games anywhere you like. And then if you don't have a internet connection, you can play everything completely offline, which is really cool. So if you're in the middle of nowhere and you've all got your phones and you think, okay, let's do a bit of our campaign, you can sit down and continue your campaign. So yeah, it's very flexible. It's not platform independent, not game set independent. So you're not tied to a specific game in such. So
I think the most impressive part is the fact that you can do it offline, right? You don't have to be connected. Yeah. I've definitely had issues with that. When I was in France playing D&D in a castle, like I've just gotten used to using D&D Beyond for my character sheets and stuff. And apparently castles were not made with internet in mind. They just were not forward thinking in that way. And the thick walls, while great for maybe stopping trebuchet fire, not so great for allowing internet access. And so I'd have to run outside and like get my character to load up and then come back in. So that seems like it could be a super useful feature. And I've been other places where you just don't get good at internet access or whatever. Maybe you're in the middle of the woods in a cabin or something. Had you tried some of the other systems out there before designing your own, or were you just like, well, I'm a developer, I'm going to develop?
Well, we tried. I mean, if you remember what I said, it was a good 3 years ago when we started development on this. So there was a lot of stuff that was very raw out there. I think I can't even remember the one we used now, but I had an encounter builder, and I can't remember the name of the app I was using now, but it was okay. But it just did one thing. I had the sounds, and that just did the one thing. And I thought, well, there's a market here for something that can just make your life easier and have it all under one roof. And that's the main reason why we created the Ultimate Games Master.
So, because I want to say, like, personally for me as a consumer, it is getting more and more difficult, right, to figure out what to use, because there are a lot of different options. So what do you think is the draw to use the Ultimate Games Master? What are the things that people have told you they really like about using it?
Well, from feedback we've had from our beta testers, we've a big thing is our encounter builder. I mean, it's solid. It's been running now and developed for like 7 months. It's really useful for a campaign builder. Creating your encounter is very easy. Literally, just add whoever you want in there. You've also got some things in there that can randomize certain parts of your encounter. So if you don't always want to have 10 kobolds, you can say, okay, whenever they enter this area, it could potentially have 5, it could potentially have 30 kobolds, and it will do a random generator based on that moment in time. So that's really good. And the reinforcement aspect of the encounter builder is also really good. So you could have, you could have 10 kobolds in a bunk somewhere, and in another room somewhere you might have another 5, and they can come in and you can mark them to enter at a later time. So they could come in, say, round 3. And as you're playing, you go down the list, it gets to round 3. The initiatives rolled for the kobolds, and boom, they enter the fray, and then they're a part of the encounter as well. So that's one of the parts that people have said they've really liked. Another is the looting system. Very easy, very simple to set up, but fun for the players as well, because they open the chests or they killed everyone in a room. They want to loot the room. It all appears, and they can take what they like, and they can see what's in the room. And they can loot whatever they want. And sometimes
can you show me the chest feature? That sounds interesting, but it sounds like it would be way better visually.
Yeah, let's start a game. So let's just start this up.
So why you're doing that? Like we were talking earlier, and also I do like the concept of the reinforcement aspect that you mentioned, because I literally was running a game this weekend using an encounter builder for D&D Beyond, and I had set up an encounter, and I had a bunch of wraiths. So they weren't really part of the encounter, but they were doing this ritual, and so I didn't want to put them all in the builder because it would just make the numbers look crazy, and so I ended up like putting in 1. But I was like, I want to add more. So I would just like wait until 1 died and then reset its hit points. It worked out because they didn't happen to attack a bunch of different ones. But like I was looking, I was like, I would like to just add them to the combat now. And I was like, I don't think I can.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can add stuff on the fly if you want to. I mean, if we just go to my demo chapter and my cave, and this is one of the caves that we knocked up and we played a few weeks ago. But if I go into this, I know there's an encounter in here. So if I just reset this one. So you build the encounter. You just drag, you build it up with whoever you want. This one's got a random amount of between 10 and 15 kobolds in it. And also I'm just randoming their hit points slightly between 5 and 10. So they're not always the same. So if you've got players that like to count hit points, and this one, he's always got 5 hit points, right? Okay, hit him for 5. Yes, I know he's dead. Well, not necessarily. They may not. So with the encounter, again, you can have a global loot. I've got a small coin drop it's a random coin drop. So when we actually build this, I was going to add a reinforcement as well. So we'll add a killer whale.
Yeah.
We'll add a kobold, and we'll add let's say this is another 5. So we had another 5 kobolds. And we were going to put them in as a reinforcement. So all we do down here, arrival round, we'll say they arrive in round 2. Dead easy. And we play that, we generate it. So it generates the encounter, got my kobolds. It knows the players that are a part of this. So I don't want to send that. I'm going to just auto roll initiative for my players for now. And here's the encounter screen. So on the left-hand side, this is your initiative order of everything that's going on, including your goodies, your baddies, and everything, including their current hit points. On the top right, you've got the person whose current go it is. So at the moment, current go is Kobold number 17. And so that's his go, and that's all the information about that particular one whose go it is. You can click the eye, get a bigger view on it if you like. And then down on the bottom right, if I've got nothing selected, this is my reinforcement list. So you can see these are arriving round 2. So they will pop into the initiative tree when we get there. Now you've got some other settings if you want to. So in here, I can add NPCs in, so they'll appear in my encounter tree as well. I can add monsters on the fly. Add party is if I've got, if say you've picked up some friendly NPCs along the way and they're kind of following your gang as they're going through this cave, you can click that and pull in whatever party number you want from that. So that's quite useful. You can add a random list, or you can add bad guys from another area. So we'll just carry on as we are for now. So we just go down, and you see the top right one is changing as we go down. If I want to see something that's not currently that's not their go, I just click on this one, and it appears in the bottom corner. So I can see anyone I want to just by clicking on them as well, which is super useful. And then we get to the end of this, end of the turn, end of the round, and we know reinforcements have arrived, they've been rolled in, and now they're all a part of this initiative. And they're all in the tree ready to rock and roll. Now, this is all live data. So, for instance, if I've got, say, Doug, if he's being attacked. So this is the character sheet, which I'll go through the character sheet in a minute. But if I go to Doug and he takes 20 hit points of damage, you can see it's automatic, always takes it off for you as a GM, or I can do it for them. If you've got you might have a new player and they're not quite sure, you can do some of the stuff for them. So you can say, okay, I'll take off 10. And then that automatically reflects on their character sheet as well, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the other areas which is really useful for keeping track of stuff is the spectator mode. So if you click on the books up here, you've got your quick display, and this is a spectator mode, which can run, it runs on your GM console, which is this one here, or you can run this on a completely standalone device. You just click it, and then you've got access to all your playing characters there. And you'll see again, if any of them take damage, if you're watching it, it's quite fun because if they take damage, it flags up what's happening to them, and I'm controlling that from this tablet here, which is just a basic Amazon Kindle. But that could be any kind of device you like. So yeah, it's quite very flexible, and it's good fun, really good fun.
Yeah, I feel like that would be super useful for streamers. Like it's kind of dramatic to show the big damage popping up on the screen.
Yeah, and that's also really good fun, because when you run it in streaming mode, because you can run the spectator mode as a stream mode, and those big explosions of HP over it can go. You can put that where you like, and put it over their video feed or anywhere you like. So you can have their hit points over their video feed, and then it automatically sort of blasts up with any damage or healing or XP they get and stuff like that. So it makes it good fun to watch as well.
So you were talking about the loot. So how does that work? You said it like actually shows the players what the loot is.
Yeah. So on the loot system, this has just been auto-generated from what I think was a coin drop. That's right. So we can add some extra stuff to this. So we can £9 cannon, lovely. We can add some, I don't know, a short sword and some platinum. Everyone likes platinum. And again, these can be random as well. So you can say, okay, it's going to be between 5 and 8 bits of platinum that they're going to find there, and a short sword. So that's how you kind of create it, which is dead quick and easy. And then to run the loot system, you just click the distribute button. And then that will then say, okay, who's going to take part in this trade of loot in this room? Who's going to be taking it? And okay, we'll have everyone. And then you've got your loot system. So on the right-hand side, it's what's available. So you can see there was 96 bits of silver generated from that small coin drop. There's the one short sword, and the platinum was between, I think it was 5 and 8, and we got 7. So it's great. And then over on the players, they've got a similar one. I don't know if you can see that, but they've got a similar one on their one. But the difference is they've got their own items on the side there.
Mm.
And as a GM, you know, you can take some stuff if there's any NPCs that are going to be taking some stuff as well. But as a player, they can take it, and as a GM, you know who's taken things as well. So you might take 5 bits of platinum and leave some left over for someone else, and you've got a tally on the bottom right of who's taking what. The GM took the 5. Doug took the short sword, and Doug's also going to take 50 silver, and then that'll appear down there as well. And it gives you a list of what stuff's left over. When you finish it, you just finish the loot, goes in, says on their screen, trades a final, and it's now a part of their equipment on their screen. So I will go through the character sheet in a minute, but that's really good for managing your loot and the distribution of the loot. And also, if you ever come back to this room, they might have thought, okay, I could do with something we left there. You can just reopen it and say they've gone back in. You've got what's left in that room, and you can put things back in there. So Doug's got some daggers. He might think, oh, I'm going to be encumbered, so I'll just ditch some daggers. And now you've got the daggers he's ditched have just appeared in the list for other people to take, which is quite cool. And again, you can always go back if you decide at a later date, oh, I wanted them daggers. You can go back and get them. So yeah, the loot system is very, very flexible, very easy to use, and also quite fun, because sometimes you might have a couple of characters that are in a different part of the cave, and they find some loot in a chest, and they get to, you know, you select whoever is in that room, and only they get to see what's in that loot, and they can take that loot. And if anyone else asks, they can say, oh, there's nothing there. Because the loot just won't appear on their character sheets. It'll only appear on the ones that you've selected are taking part in that looting process. So it can be quite fun as well, which we've found.
So will the app come preloaded with any game systems?
Yeah, it comes completely preloaded with the open game set from Wizards of the Coast, which is the SRD, which has got the 5th edition rule set in there. It's got all the basic monsters, basic items, and stuff like that. Also comes with demo campaigns that we're bundling with it. Also has a load of sound effects and stuff that we've got, so you can add in some sounds as well. So these are all the different elements that you can build your campaign with. So if we just go across to sounds, we've got some sound effects, some music. So you can scream. We'll pick up the, let's go with the scream set. And you've got a Wilhelm. And just turn that down a bit because it could be quite loud on the stream. And then you've got that firing array. And if you heard it came from the background, it comes out of their tablets as well if they've got to accept the sounds from you as well, which is quite cool. And the other fun thing is in the campaign menu, you've also got things like your quick controls where if bad jokes, you can have the tumbleweed go past. And that appears on all their devices, or bad joke alert. And then you'll see it's going on their devices as well. So it's we try and keep a bit of fun in there as well. But the scene changes are really useful.
Now to use those features, obviously, like you'd have to be connected to the internet, right?
Yeah. You'd need, well, not necessarily the internet, because you've got LAN play as well. So if you've got a spare router and you're in the middle of nowhere, as long as you can power it, you can have a network game. You don't need the internet. You just need connection between you and your other devices. So if you're in that castle in France that you was in, you can have a battery pack to power a spare router. Take that with you, and you can play connected play if you want, or if you don't, you can just play disconnected. In which case, those kind of aspects won't work, but you can still play as if you've got everything there. You've got all your DM stuff. The players have got their character sheets, and you can get on with it.
Okay, with publishing the bad joke alert would be up for the whole game with my group. I think there's a lot of groups that are like that, so I don't think you're unique there.
Yeah,
puns are no stranger. So, so you said you've been using this thing for the last few years. How often do you guys game?
We game every weekend. I've got two gaming groups. One is my normal adult table, and we play every Saturday night. It's great fun. And I also got a game for my kids, which I play, and they're working their way through the D&D cartoon universe. So I've created campaigns based on the old 80s cartoon, which they're loving.
Oh, nice. So now, were you able to get much testing in before the end times for in-person use?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's been in development for a really long time. We play test the features as we go. We as we're playing, my team, they'll say, "Oh, it'd be really good if I could do this," and I go, "Okay," and then I'll develop that over the next week or so, and then if I can get it done by the next game, I'll implement it in our next game, and we kind of play test it as we're going along. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that works really well. That's great." And now it'd be good if we could do this. Or sometimes as I'm GMing, I'll think, "Oh, I need access to something here and I haven't got it." Right, and I'll make a note of it, go away, and add that in for when I play next. And I'm like, "Yeah, brilliant." And I kind of tweak it as we go. So it's been really battle tested as far as playability is concerned, and it's our because the data is all held locally. We don't hold anyone's data, which is really useful. And that's what a lot of people like. So if they've created their own homebrew campaign, it's on their device. Doesn't go anywhere near our servers. Our server is literally for traffic. It literally says, okay, play the tumbleweed. Okay, and these play the tumbleweed. Or play this soundtrack. Okay, it plays the soundtrack. Or take hit points off of Doug. Right, take the hit points off of Doug. So there's no data held on our servers at all. But our servers are all AWS, Amazon servers. So they are really, really good servers, and haven't gone down in 3 years. So it's all good going.
So Kaywood Publishing wants to know, do the kids play the characters from the cartoon?
No, they don't. They play their own characters, but all the characters from the show are NPCs that they bump into every now and again. So they don't necessarily follow them everywhere, but sometimes their paths cross, and that's where it all gets very exciting. So
that was going to be my follow-up question. Do they have a favorite character from the cartoon?
I think Presto is always, I think, a lot of their favorites because he's so daft and can never seem to get anything right. And Eric the Cavalier, they like the fact he is so full of himself.
That's funny. I was going to pick him for the least favorite.
Oh, they like the fact he's a bit obnoxious.
Yeah. And have they tried to abscond with Uni yet?
No, they've seen Uni, and Uni kind of likes them, so that's good. They arrived just, if you remember the introduction of the cartoon where they're on the roller coaster and they arrive and they get, I think there's Venger and there's Tiamat there, and they fend him off, and Venger and Tiamat go chasing each other off somewhere. They arrived just about that, and they kind of, the way I started their campaign was that they were witnessing that. So they weren't in that, but they appeared at the same time from a different theme park.
Yeah.
And saw that happen in the distance. So they could see Venger and Tiamat, and they saw the main characters arrive and do their little fight. And then that's how we kind of eased it in and got it kind of running in parallel. And they think it's fantastic.
I think one of the new Wizards book is going to bring back Warduke.
I
saw I think the Feywild book.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe we'll get Avenger at some point.
Avenger and Shadow Demon and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for a little while, we were kind of like watching them and reviewing them on our channel, but they didn't really take off. But they were fun to do.
Yeah.
And to kind of go back. I mean, because I remember watching that cartoon Saturday mornings as it would come out. And I still remember, I forget, there was something one Saturday morning and the president was on. I was so mad at that president because they totally ruined my Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. And the thing is, back when we were watching it, there was no recording and watch it later.
No.
It's not on. If you got up late, you missed it.
Yeah, there was no video on demand for sure. Yeah. So are usually the GM or a player in games? Yeah,
I am.
Yeah. So have you been able to put this in the hands of other GMs and see how they use it and how it works for them?
Yeah, we've got a couple of beta testers that have been running it. Again, they're similar. They'll run it because it's funny seeing other people GM because no one seems to do it the same way. They've got their own little way of doing things, and they'll suggest stuff and say, "Oh, it'd be really good if it did this." I'm like, okay, well, that's actually quite easy to do. I'll add that in for you, and then do the same thing. Add it in. They then play test that little kind of section that they've helped kind of create, really. It's super useful, really.
Has there been any standout feedback where people are super excited about anything in particular?
I think we've had a lot of good feedback about the encounter system, how easy it is to use and to manipulate on the fly, because there's a few different encounter systems out there that run as standalone apps or whatever, and the flexibility isn't there. You can't just sometimes add bad guys as you go. You can't create a reinforcement list. Sometimes on some of them you can't even hide the bad guys that have died, so you've got a whole list full of bad guys that are dead, which is not the most useful thing in the world. So that is, people have really liked that. They also love the connected play, the fact that you are playing as a connected group, yet it's its own app. So as an application developer, I'm not tied to a web page. Like some systems are web based, and that has some really big restrictions, where we don't have any of those restrictions. So we can really think out the box when it comes to stuff like that. They like the fact that you've got cross play between platforms. A PC can talk to an iPad can talk to an Android device. And with the connected play, you've also got other things like in the campaign builder, you've got stuff like the messaging. So you can create a message, you just drag it on, you say, okay, this, you are under control, something like that. I don't know. Say that, I can't spell. Control, there we go. And the message is, you have been taken over by X. And so you do this as you're creating the campaign. You might have a baddie in here that might have some mind tricks up their sleeve, and you can just click on that. You say, do you want to send it? You say, yeah. Who do you want to send it to? You can send it to one person. So if I send it to Doug again, and I click OK, it's appeared straight on his device there, and only his device there. So he now knows you might have given him a specific instruction of what he's got to now do. And only he knows that, which is good. And you can say, okay, you get an acknowledgement if you want. And it says, I've read your message. So you now know he's read your message, he's acknowledged it. And you've got it gets away from having to, you've got like notes that you're passing all over the place. You pass a note to someone across the table, they'll go, the other players are like, ooh, what does that say? So you get rid of that, and you get a bit more conniving, and you can do a few extra things that you might not be able to do before. And then you've got a step further, you've got questions as well. So you can do the same thing, but with a question. Okay, question, join action. Do you want to join someone? And you can say, okay, the answer is going to be yes, or it's going to be no. And then that again, you would create that. Say they've gone into an area where there's a representative of a particular faction, and they want to. They ask them privately if they want to become a member of that organization, and you just do the same thing. Do you want to send a message? Yeah, I want to send it to him. And then it goes again, it comes through with your pre-populated answers. Do you want to join this faction? Yay or nay? And you say, yes, I do. And then it comes back, I'm answering with yes. And you now know that Doug is interested in joining that faction, and nobody else knows that transaction happened.
Are these things that can be preloaded?
Yeah, this is all preloaded. So I can create this campaign, and then when I come to run that campaign, I go into this area. I've got my encounter. I've got all this stuff, ability checks and whatever, and I've got these pre-prepared things I just created for it. So that can all be done, weeks in advance if you want to.
Because that's interesting, because it makes me think of things that are going on in my own game where, for instance, one of the plot lines is they've been stalked by this creature that has this magic / cursed, possibly dagger. And the players, I assume they would get it from this creature at some point. And so the question is do you attune to that? Right. And so I just, ask at the table, are you going to attune to that? yes or no, and then they answer me, and then we'll see what happens next week. Where like you could have had that preloaded, in there, and could have sent it to them, and no one else will know, and then they just kind of see like the actions, and I find that part intriguing and interesting. Although I will say the note passing sometimes is kind of like is a technique of its own.
Yeah.
I know that some DMs will just pass decoy notes, just to get the suspicion of the other players up. But no, I do like the idea that you can kind of like preload that stuff while you're planning your campaign for contingencies for things that might come up. Because I am not a very fast typer, so there's not a lot of appeal to me trying to message people during the game.
No, I'm not even. Well, when you're in the game, and I run it on a Kindle, and the last thing I normally be doing is pushing on the screen during a game. All this stuff I would normally have preloaded as a part of this area. They enter this area, it's got some stuff going on, and you've got loads of different options of stuff that you can do, from experience to encounters. Got your overview. I mean, all this you would generally preload it before you even get to the game. And then you've got your kind of checks, clues, images, and maps is useful because you can send maps to your character sheets as well. So if I was to drop in a map, I can do the same thing and send that map to the players. So they've then got that in their inventory, so they can just click it, and in their inventory you've got the map there, and they can look at it and zoom in and see kind of what's going on, as if they've got a handout kind of thing. And that's really useful. So there's a good few stuff, and you would do all this a lot. All of this would be pre-done before you get there. I mean, the scene animation is quite a good one I use for if they're about to encounter a big bad. I would do a scene transition for everybody, and I would say. That's like big bad lair, and they've been waiting for this moment forever, and you have finally entered the lair. And we say, okay, it's going to hold for 3 seconds, and then when we get to this area, so if we save that, but they've come in the cave, they've been working for this moment for months and months and months, and then finally this is it. And on their character sheet, so big bad lair, you click on that, and then you've got boom, and everyone's devices brings them back into the game. They're like, whoa, okay, this is it. That can be done with sound effects and stuff as well.
Images.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, okay, this is it. This is the moment we've been working for months, and you can just make it a bit more, a bit more fun.
It looks like more intuitive than some of the VTTs I've used, because some of them you actually have to put in short code or kind of like code, and so that's kind of like off-putting to me, as well as just juggling a bunch of stuff at once. I like the idea of just preloading things and having it up, because technology is kind of like a double-edged sword at the table for a tabletop RPG, right? Like, I'll do things where like I'm using D&D Beyond here to run my encounter, and here's my notes for the campaign, and there's some things that I really love about it. And then I'll be like, I'll have my map in Dungeon Fog, and I want to just, put a map up on a screen for people to see. But then, like, while I'm doing that, sometimes it like really bogs down the game and slows down the game compared to like if I was just doing Theater of the Mind. So is this intuitive where like everything can kind of go off on a command key or like with a click?
Well, yeah, everything is customizable. Absolutely, everything you can change. You can, like I say, you can create all prior to arriving. If you're, as a GM, as I'm running the game, everything runs with a click. If there's anything you need to access that you've not prepared ahead of the game, you can either just drag it in from here. If you want to quickly put an encounter in, it's a case of just dragging the thing on there and adding a monster. Oh, they found an aboleth. Oh dear. Well, that's the end. and it's there, and that is it. And then you click it, and they send. No, I don't want to do that. And you've got your initiative rolls, and we're in. And that's how quick you can set an off-the-fly encounter up. That can also work with things like random encounters. So if you've got a set of random encounters, get rid of Mr. Aboleth, don't like him. You can just add a random encounter in, and we'll say, okay, we'll add a random kobold encounter in. And that is, we've already created what that is. I'll show you that in a minute. But now when I run that encounter, it's running that random kobold encounter. Oh, I've put cultists in it. But what that's done a random roll from a table and pulled in from that random table. So if I go down to my random encounters here, you can see in that kobold encounter we just clicked on, it's a D8. And I've got something for each. Oh, I know what this was. This was from, this was from the Rise of Tiamat, I think. So if it rolls a 1, they get a small group. If they roll the hiding people, a large cult group, and that consists of some guards and some cultists. So all this can be done on the fly very, very quickly. And your compendiums, again, they're all accessible from your quick menu on the left. Your monsters, so you've got access to all your monsters here, all the details and everything in there. Same with your equipment and your NPCs. So, hey, Robert the Robber, Fred the Strongman. So you've got access to all your NPCs there as well. You've got the spectator mode. All your connected players, so you've got access to them as well, and anything that you ever need to get. And then you've got your characters. So if you did decide, I really need to send a private message, you can do that on the fly without sticking it in the area, or send an image. So if you've got your device, you can click on send image, and then you can take a photo, or you can pick something from your gallery and then just send it to another player or your GM, or you can set up a random trade. That kind of thing. Timers are useful. I've got my campaign timers, which I just use that to keep track of the last time they long rested and things like that. But the campaign timers, they might be a stench somewhere, and you can just stick in a timer. It stinks, and everyone has got I don't know. There's some kind of disadvantage or something running for this time while that timer's running, and the timer's running. So you've got all of that, and your timers kind of appear in here, so you know what's going on there, which is really useful sometimes as well. But yeah, I mean, you build it up even if you're not. You're not computer literate, or you're not comfortable with certain things. You just drag and drop stuff. You want to send a message, you want to create a quest that the characters can store in their notes. You want to create a jump to, so there might be a portal that jumps to a completely different area without you having to disappear all the way out to go and find the area. You can jump straight to it. You want an NPC sat around a table.
I do like the idea of drag and drop. I mean, like I said, a lot of the different programs I've used, they're not like intuitive, and it's like you need lots of tutorials on them before you can use them proficient. And then to the point where when I see someone that's really good at using like Roll20 and Sirenscape integrated, and it's like, to me, they almost like they look like a maestro conducting an orchestra at that point, right? Yeah. And in addition to just like running the game, and there's a certain point where the technology no longer seems to assist running the game, but starts to like overtake it.
See, that's what we really wanted to get away from. I mean, we as a table, we love the encounters, but we love the role play aspect of it, and the main thing that I wanted to do while creating the UGM was to keep the immersion there. I didn't want the immersion to end. I wanted, once the players are in the game, it's just a case of, I'm using a mouse, but if you think of how easy this would be on a tablet where I just click with my finger, I'm entering an area. Like the story text, if you've got like a load of lore that you particularly want to read out, you just click the story text, and this would run like an auto cue, nice and slow. So it will automatically scroll for you, and you would just read it out. So you've got all that kind of going. And it was just a way of really keeping our games running smoothly without having to stop and look stuff up, or having to, I've now got to roll initiative for 10 aboleths. And you don't need to do it. You just click a button, and the monsters are rolled for you if you want to do that. If you want to roll manually, you can use dice. It doesn't matter. You can use either. I know people love their dice, and some people might go somewhere where they haven't got their dice, so they can use the dice roller inside. But this is all the GM side of it. If I very quickly exit out of here, and I'll close this game down. So with the lobby's quite useful. So if you've got a campaign that you've created yourself, you might have some characters that you've created that you might want to distribute with the campaign for people to play, especially if it's maybe a first, you've created a campaign for brand new players or something. You can just click on their device, and they can send them their character sheet. That's quite useful. And then you've got the syncing and stuff like that. So if I just come out of here, disconnect that game. And I'll go in as a player now. So I'll go into my fantasy game set, and we'll pick Hognar. So this is Hognar. This is our paladin in our current game. And this is your character sheet. This is set for 5th edition at the moment, because that's what we're playing. We're playing Rise of Tiamat. So I've got all my skills on the left-hand side. I've got my ability stats at the top left, combat stats, and my actions here, which I'll come back to in a second. Click on the equipment. That's all my equipment I've got. You can have multiple equipment storages, like you might have a bag of holding, you might have a lockup somewhere with stuff in it. You've got your magic and enhancements, which is where we put all your traits and feats together, and you just cycle through them, which is quite useful, dead easy to use. And click anything. Anything is clickable. Tells you what kind of enhancement it is, if it's passive or you need to activate it. And everything is nice and big for people that can't see very well as well, or need glasses or whatever. Everything is clickable, from the skills. You can roll your checks and stuff from your ability. So for new players or old players alike, if you can't remember something, you just click it, and it tells you all about it. Same with your equipment as well. And what the combat tab does, it enables you, once you've equipped an item, it saves you having to go through the equipment list all the time to find that item to get information on it. So if I've equipped it, I can go to my combat tab, and it's got everything in there that I need to know that I've got equipped at that moment in time. So I know I can click on that. And
does it work with screen readers?
I've never tried it. I would have thought so. It should do.
I'm just curious, because when you mentioned it, like, if you're hard to sing, it's big font so you can see it, and that made me kind of think about, the accessibility angle.
Yeah, because some of the components we've used to build it, they have got accessibility stuff with them. So it's something that we could switch on very easily, and it would read it out using the onboard, whatever the voice on voice is for that device. But yeah, people need that. We can switch it on. Yeah, but it's just really useful to have everything in one place. Your combat tab, you can click on your stats up here, and you've got some custom trackers here. Hognar, Stuart, our guy that plays Hognar, he likes to know how many dragons he's slain. So he's got a custom tracker for that. And they got their first dragon a few weeks ago, which was good fun.
Did he add that after they killed the dragon or before?
He added it after, because I think it was touch and go whether they were going to get a TPK or not. But it was good. They won it. He did used to track Tavin's burn down. Another one. But yeah, these are all completely custom. You can add in what you like there. And to change your hit points, you just click your hit point tab. You can change your hit points here, change them down, or you can add conditions. And again, your conditions are clickable. So if you can't remember what they do, just click it, tells you what they do. And yeah, it's super useful. They really enjoy playing their characters using these character sheets, and it just saves you ever having to look anything up, because it's all there. Everything's there for them.
And what is the purchase model going to look like? Okay,
the Kickstarter, which runs next Tuesday, that's running for a month. With the normal, without the Kickstarter, it runs on a subscription base, but we're running it very cheaply. With the Games Master tier, it's $5 a month, and with the Total Immersion, it's $7.50 a month, and that includes the whole library of sounds, music. One thing I didn't show, but it also connects to smart lighting as well. So you can have smart lighting doing stuff. So they enter a dark cavern. You can control your lighting to lower your lighting in the room, which is fun. We ran this at the at the Games Expo, and we had let's see if I've got it here. I think I've got it. That's our dragon that we had on our stand, and we were controlling the smart lighting in his mouth using the app.
Yeah, nice.
And then,
where does one get a giant dragon head?
We made it. Our artist Pete, who does all the art, he made it, and people were like coming along having their photos taken with the dragon and lots of fun stuff. But yeah, so if you come to, that's the normal model, $5 and $7.50 a month. So $5 if you don't need the music, sounds, or lighting integration, or third-party Spotify Sirenscape integration, or $7.50 if you do, which we think is really affordable. If you come to the Kickstarter, it's in pounds because we're in the UK. For £35, you get, I think it's a year subscription. But we're also offering some lifetime stuff, which we won't be offering outside of the Kickstarter. So that's pretty cool.
Lifetime's always a good deal if it's something you think you're going to use for a long time.
Well, that's it. And what we're thinking with the lifetime stuff is, one thing I've never said, all players are free. We don't charge for any players. So if you've got a player and they want to come and use their character sheet, don't cost anything. It's just the GM model that costs, and they want to connect. So if you're a player, and if you're a GM and you rock up at your game, you can just tell your player, hey, download this app, and it doesn't cost anyone anything other than the GM, which is really good. But yeah, at the with the Kickstarter, so you can, we kind of priced it based on, if someone wants a lifetime license, their table could maybe all throw into it. And because it's only the GM that needs the license, they can all chuck like $10 or something in there, and they might end up with enough to warrant the lifetime license. But there's loads of other cool stuff in there. We've got shop deals in there, which comes with beautiful it's exclusive to us dragon skinned cases with slot for like 5 or 6 tablets in there. And the tablets all come preloaded, so you get that as a deal as well. That's the kind of thing that we was asked for at the expo for kind of stores and stuff like that. And yeah, there's lots of cool stuff. Dice bags, dice. We've got a really cool coin that we're getting for people if they want to collect. A lot of people collect coins. We've got a UGM coin So that's quite cool.
Does it incorporate a dice roller?
It does, yeah. Yeah, got a dice roller, and our dice roller isn't tied to the system, because even though a lot of devices have a random function within them, it's not random. It's still predictable because it's a computer. So ours use a system which is really bizarre. But if you're connected to the internet, it goes to a specific place where the random is calculated on atmospherics in the sky. It's really strange, but it is absolutely completely random. So yeah.
How did you end up with that? How did you even know to do that or find that?
We were asked about it at the expo by other people that were developers, and they say, "But how did you get around the randomness that is actually, because random numbers in a computer are generated by what you call a seed. So if you have a seed of 1, it will always generate the same random number." And that's how computers work.
That's not random, though.
They're logic machines. So they then go a step further and say, okay, well, we'll randomize the seed, but then that's still random based on the computer. So I sort of looked into it and I thought, this is different. We'll use that. And that's how we created our random generator. So all the dice rolls from the player and the GM rolling to the auto initiative calculations to the the random encounter, random loot. It's all generated using that method. So it's pretty cool.
So literally your dice rolls are coming from the sky.
From the sky, yeah.
Good times, bad times. It is called Ultimate Games Master. Games is plural. There's links in the description so you can click away and find it out. I know you're quote unquote working right now, but if you come back to the video, you can look in this description for the links. That is so bizarre. So you were just looking for a random way to generate, like a truly random way, and you just happen to stumble upon this thing where they just take a reading from the atmosphere, and that helps determine, and that determines the number. Like, who did that? Why?
I have no idea. Obviously, someone had the same idea and wanted to do something, and that's how they created it, based on some atmospheric data. So
that is so weird. I really question the person that came up with that. I'm a little afraid of them.
But the other thing with the UGM is completely platform. It's not independent on any particular platform or any game. So you can run with D&D, Pathfinder, whatever game system you've got. And also, if you're creating a game system, you can create your entire game system in UGM, your rules and everything. And we're working on a pretty cool feature which would be useful for people like that, which will allow you to output your compendium and stuff to a PDF or something like that. So you can then distribute it on whatever, however you distribute your stuff, but it enables you to create it.
So you could literally build it in there and then export it?
Yeah. So you can export it to, RPG Guild or wherever you sell your stuff.
Interesting. And you guys also don't collect any of the data, you said. It all stays on device.
Stays completely on your device. Yeah. So we don't collect anything. We just manage the traffic. You can also create, let's say, LAN games, and obviously they don't communicate with us at all. They don't even use our server to say what they're doing. It's up to you how you want to play. But the server's there if you want to use it, and the AWS servers are rock solid, so they're good things to use.
So we're just on the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
Well, please come to our Kickstarter and pledge. And like I said, we're working on this for a good few years, so the software already works. The Kickstarter is purely to fund the servers in the sky, which cost a lot of money, and that's what the Kickstarter is going towards. So there's no worry if you bid, because we've already got the product and people are using the product and loving it. So please pledge. And
what is the delivery date? Expected delivery date then?
Well, our expected delivery date is October. Maybe before then. If one of the tiers is to get beta access, so if you take that tier, you'll get it a little bit sooner. So the Kickstarter runs to the end of August, and then we'll probably spend September polishing it, getting it ready for distribution, and then it's ready for October to rock and roll.
Nice. Well, as always, folks, links are in the description. Go check it out. You can click the Kickstarter notify button if you want to be notified once it goes live, so you can check it out. There's also the website you can poke around over there and the social medias. So until next time, stay nerdy.